I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Good afternoon and welcome to Camnet TV Midday News. The headlines. Over 100 girls retrieved from child marriages in NEGA-NEGA. TIZ challenges investigative wings to update the nation on high-profile corruption cases. Details coming through after this commercial.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
And now the midday news in detail. More than 100 girls between the age of 13 and 17 years old have been retrieved from early marriages in NEGA-NEGA, Mazabuka district. In an interview with Camnet TV, Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights Director Richard Nkula says the organization has retrieved 163 girls and the child marriage survivors have since been integrated into school.
A typical day in the life of a teenage girl in Southern Province, going about her daily chores around the house. One might think there's nothing wrong with this picture, but the tragedy is that this 14-year-old girl of NEGA-NEGA in Mazabuka district was almost forced into marriage after she fell pregnant. At a time when grade 7 pupils had exams in their mind, she, among other girls in her situation, had more grown-up problems to think about. Her boyfriend, who is 19-year-old, impregnated her.
I am 14 years old. I got pregnant during the time that I was about to write my grade 7 exams. I thought of marriage, but I do not want anymore.
The man who impregnated her does not deny the responsibility, however, does not want the matter to be reported to the police. With strong policies that the government has put in place to protect children from forced marriages and other harmful practices, now it's a books, not marriage, that her parents are insisting on.
My daughter is still young. All I want is for her to go back to school.
I have 5 children and she is my third born. We tried to engage the man's family after we discovered she was pregnant, but nothing was solved. With the free education policy, all I want is for my daughter to continue with higher education.
Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights have been holding meetings in Nalwama Chiefdom to talk about the dangers. In an interview with Camnet TV, the organization director discloses how many girls have been retrieved.
In the period of 2 weeks, we have managed to retrieve children, 163 to date. And out of these cases, we have reported them to the police, we have referred them to the police, and we are continuing sensitizing the community in this area, because what we have discovered here in NEGA-NEGA, we have got the high number of teenage pregnancies and also early marriages. Therefore, we have engaged the stakeholders such as the church and also the traditional leaders.
Traditional leaders across the country are starting to challenge the old customs that seem to be harmful in order to protect children.
Free education in Jibagatupa by government by UPNT. At least
we need to have such programs in this chiefdom to sensitize on the dangers of child marriage and teenage pregnancy.
At least
it is estimated that girls who become pregnant at a tender age are 5 times likely to die while giving birth. It is hoped that such discussion prompts communities globally to protect children against the harmful practice. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Transparency International Zambia TIZ has challenged investigative wings to update the country on the outcome of cases involving high-profile people that were publicized and later went quiet.
The amending of Zambia's constitution has remained a topical issue, as while stakeholders agreed that there is need for constitutional amendments to close all loopholes, they cannot seem to agree on how this should be done. The Zambia Center for Interparty Dialogue ZCID in 2018 convened a meeting for all major political parties in Siavonga to discuss potential constitutional reforms, which also included the separation of powers and judicial independence, as well as freedom of assembly, among other reforms. This saw the setting up of the famous National Dialogue Forum of 2019, aimed at implementing the Siavonga resolutions and for stakeholders to make submissions in order to reform the constitution. The effectiveness of the National Dialogue Forum was highly questioned, as it saw majority of participants being from the then ruling Patriotic Front, while majority of representatives from the then opposition United Party for National Development UPND stayed away, among other key stakeholders. In June of the same year, the Zambian government released the Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 10 of 2019, which sought to amend the constitution in several ways, some of which stakeholders said were not part of the recommendations from the National Dialogue Forum. The bill was greatly debated, as some alleged that it sought to unfavorably enhance presidential powers and subsequently failed to pass in Parliament in 2021. In an interview, Caritas Zambia Executive Director Mr. Eugene Kabilika says the constitutional amendment process that has been promised in the UPND should have consensus from key stakeholders to avoid going through the same phase.
But in order to do that, there must be transparency from the very beginning to the end. We failed to do that during the previous attempts because we ran away from consensus. Before we reach consensus, others have already moved forward. That was problematic. So this time we must reach consensus before we move to the next step, so that at each step we take, there is consensus by all key stakeholders. That way we won't fail to amend or to enhance the Bill of Rights.
Mr. Kabilika says the process should also be holistic and include the holding of a referendum to enhance the Bill of Rights.
The UPND, during the time they were in opposition, they did allude to the fact that we need to remove the lacunas that are in the Constitution. So removing the lacunas means amending the Constitution. And also there's a big push to make sure that we include the rights, part 3 of the Constitution, which is the human rights. So if we enhance the human rights, it means we'll have to go to a referendum. So we must not be shy to go to the referendum, amend the Constitution, change, enhance the Bill of Rights and go to referendum. For me, that would be the best way, instead of having this piecemeal, amend this and wait for the part 3 to be done later. That's why we always are caught up with so many things and we do nothing in the end.
The key emphasis from stakeholders has been the upholding of Zambia's democratic tenets, even as the constitution is amended. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Transport business in Lundazi district of Eastern Province has come to a standstill due to continued shortage of fuel that has hit the province.
They say fuel is an economic driver, and without it, businesses would come to a standstill. In Lusaka, motorists are enjoying the benefit of having enough fuel, and transport business is operating smoothly. This, however, is not the case in Lundazi district of Eastern Province, where a shortage of fuel has hit the district. Long queues have characterized all the filling stations, and transport business has literally come to a standstill. The impact of the shortage of fuel is also being felt by businesses in the district, as goods are unable to move. A check by Camnet News at some filling stations found long queues, and some motorists interviewed have complained that they have been on a queue for 2 days trying to buy the commodity.
Line yonse kunozoona tevutika pano so tikamba pano tangala 2 days tuchoka kuminzi nasi amatenda tingala 2 days pa line kulimba na fuel vantu vatigwisa makontena vachoka ku Malawi so sitiziva pamene mungatithandizire boma tipempha isolira kuno kulundasi chiro tavutika maningi.
Others have also advised government to urgently intervene in the matter, saying if the problem is not ratified soon, many businesses risk losing out.
It's happening in Zambia, it's not good. This is Rundazi. As you can see, people, they don't have fuel. Past 2 weeks, as you can see, there is motor vehicles, people walking using motorbikes. So the only problem in Zambia, fuel is more high. We have a shortage of fuel, so we want our government in Zambia, they look into this matter. If it will continue up to now, we reach next year, January, it will be very difficult. People, business, cities stuck because of fuel. We want the government of Zambia to pull up their stock and so that they can make this program to come to an end. The people of Rundas are complaining. 2 weeks without any program of fuel. People are coming far away from Chama because as you can see Rundas, the Chama people, Chasefu, Lumezi, they are depending on the Rundas, but they don't have fuel for past 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, efforts to get a comment from Minister in charge of Energy Peter Kapala and his permanent secretary proved futile as their phone went unanswered. For now, these motorists continue to scramble for the commodity. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana has dispelled assertion by Patriotic Front Presidential Hopeful Chishimba Kambwili that government is in the process of constructing a road around Daga Mashok area and Ndola Girls Technical School.
You've embarked on creating another road parallel to Adana in the same area. This other road only services the school and Dagama Short. And from Dagama Short, 500 meters, kuyafika pageti ya airport. Mwayata mpoku pangatama kiimbi, spending money. That is not prudence use of public resources. And that project must be stopped.
That is now being made is the one that is in the design, is in the contract. Only that this time around, in order to save resources, the road from Maposa coming on the other side has not been done. It is not going to be done. What is being done is the one that is coming from the Ndola direction. So all of us will have to go through the Ndola direction in order to access the airport. So the bottom line remains that you cannot have a road accessing an international airport that passes through high voltage pylons as the one that is being used currently, where we pass through Dagamasho on our way through to Ndola Girls Technical School. So I want to urge the opposition, and particularly so our brother Kambwili, that he must, before he comes out guns blazing, he must be able to research, so that before you come out and start telling the government to stop, maybe we should also tell you that this system of the opposition coming out with information that they do not have, half-baked assertions and wanting to state them as facts, must come to a stop. So you must stop, Mr. Kambwili. Learn to consult before you come on television to tell people things. Learn to consult so that what you are offering as checks and balances is factual.
That brings us to the end of the news, the headlines. Over 100 girls retrieved from child marriages in NEGA-NEGA. TIZ challenges investigative wings to update the nation on high-profile corruption cases before them. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Good afternoon.